Hey everyone, I wanted to try something new. I kind of want to talk about the latest update we got, or the latest blog post we got about the new weapons proficiency, the beta feedback update. We're like 2 weeks before the next patch updates on what is it again? Is it November 27th? Let's quickly check that. Right, you can always see it here. It's in 13 days, alright? And 13 days essentially, yeah, it's the 27th. Okay, it's the 27th. So the 27th of February, we have patch 2 coming out. It's a big patch, right? It adds not only the new weapons, it adds the legendary armor, although we don't really know what capacity, right? Is it like it says T1, right? What does T1 mean? Is it like the precursor? Is it like the first 3 of the 6 armor pieces? Who knows, right? We're not completely sure about that. It adds the CM, right? Phoebe or Phoebe CM. It also adds new story and the next part of the map. So, you know, it should be a big patch, because patch 1 was fine, but as far as, you know, content-wise, there wasn't really enough meat on the bone there to satisfy most of the player base the past month or 2, 3, right? So I wanted to check on that and also like see what's going on in the game right now, what you can do in the next 2 weeks preparing for patch 2. All right. But first here, so the new weapons proficiency beta feedback update. So a while ago we had the beta for new weapons. There were definitely some clear winners of the beta, or some clear losers, and honestly the majority was kind of like in like a middle area where they were not bad, but they weren't great either, right? There was still a lot of room to improve there. And now they took all that feedback from the beta and they come back and shared a little bit of the changes they have made. Okay, but first let's take a look at this trailer here. It's mostly like a recap of the trailers or preview of the weapons we've seen so far. It'll be good to see again, to have like an idea of what these weapons look and what they might, you know, bring us flavor-wise, you know? I love that. I love this piece of concept art. It's really cool, right? We're definitely using that for the thumbnail here. Okay. All right. Yeah. So this should be better. We could go full screen mode. It's a little bit easier, you know. All right. So Taylor Brooks is basically speaking in this article. So he's saying that they collect a lot of feedback from the beta and they went to work with it, and they kind of give us a general idea what change they have made. Alright, so let's go over and see, if you think they are good changes, bad changes. Do take into account, I'm not like a PvP or build expert or whatsoever, but I do like to talk about these things, like speculate, right? Like, who's the winner of these betas, of these new weapons, who's the losers, because there always are winners and losers in this, okay? So, Ranger. Ranger was one of the winners from the beta, I feel like. The maces did well. It was already expected that base would replace the axe in the healer druid build, right? That seems to be the case, but it did also well in like basically all builds. So that's here what he's saying as well. Like maces were a smash over the beta weekend, being utilized by every ranger, at least specializations. So I don't know if it will be actually effective for all specializations. Probably not, but. It's like it's 5 skills you get. First 3 are healing. The 2 final ones are damage DPS. So we'll see if that can break like some kind of like DPS meta. I think it might rather become a viable like PvE roaming build, because it has sustainability and damage. So it was clear that maces had a strong kit, but we also knew there were ways they could be improved. They were missing an interaction with your pet, like most ranged weapons. Yeah, I guess they kind of forgot about that. Ranger, sometimes you forget it's a ranger, right? They don't really do a lot with pets every now. So here they do. So the first change they're making, they're gonna have Oaken Cudgel apply a heal over time effect to your pet. So this will help them stay in the action with you. So it should, guess survivability to your pet here. Okay. Next, the Untamed Ambush Rampant Grow lacked the supportive element that other skills on main hand mace have. It will now heal nearby allies when used, so you continue to hit things hard with your friends. So again, more sustainability, more survivability. It really, hammers down the fact, hammers in those mace. It really brings home that this is a support weapon first and damage second. We'll see how well it does damage when it comes out. Lastly, and this is kind of what I was hoping for, because you had like the basically core mechanic is nature's force, or is it? No, force of nature. Sorry, force of nature. But the effect lasted very short, so it has a cool effect. It actually makes you bigger. Like visually, I thought that was cool, but it didn't really last very long. And on top of it not lasting very long, the cooldown was also pretty long. So I was kind of hoping that they would make the effect force of nature longer and the cooldown shorter. So that's what they kind of did here, right? So lastly, much of the feedback we got about maces was the force of nature mechanic. It didn't flow quite right, and it was hard to achieve in natural gameplay. They are lowering the stack threshold, so I think it was from 6 to 5, increasing the duration of nature strength and reducing the time you are tapped out. You'll be growing larger, faster, more frequently. Was not to love. Indeed, was not to love. I think it's very good, if necessary, they can, adjust the damage numbers to make it not overpowered, because it lasts longer and you can do it more. But I think that's better. It's a visually good mechanic, force of nature. So let it last longer so you can actually enjoy watching your character be, huge. Alright, next we have Thief. Thief was probably the winner of the beta, the most popular one. Even though it only had like 3 skills, it's a main hand axe. But the core mechanic of basically throwing axes, the axes like spinning around in place, and then you be able to like recall them to you, cleaving and going through your enemies, is very fun. It's also fun to actually use it. Now, what they say here, Thief gaining access to axes spun up revitalized versions of condition damage that, did like a lot of damage. It did a lot of damage, a lot of condi damage, so people are afraid they're gonna nerf it. Unfortunately, axe projectiles were a lot of things consistent, they were not. They had a bad habit of following terrain in weird ways, often completely missing your target. So they'll be updating the logic of axe missiles to work more similarly to normal projectiles, as well as increasing their velocity. Okay. Let me quickly Google something so I can make sure I understand this correctly. Like velocity. What are we talking about here? Velocity. The speed. Okay, so this is not the amount, but the speed. They're gonna make the axis go faster. Okay, sure. Why not? Then, what else? Additionally, the combination of shadow stepping to a target and then pulling the axe to yourself made using the axe dagger dual skill unnecessarily harder to use. They'll update the functionality to be like the axe pistol dual skill, so the axes will go towards your target. Okay, so when you shadow step, you kind of retracted the axes to you, so you had to like think how to position yourself, so you do the most amount of damage. So they're removing that, and they're just automatically, when you retract the axes, they go directly to your enemy, to your target, no matter where you are positioned. Okay, they're making it a little bit more simple. Not really opposed to that necessarily. They'll be keeping an eye on axe after these functionality improvements to ensure it stays a competitive option with other thief weapons. Okay. Warrior. I feel like people had like a lot of expectation about Warrior. It was supposed to be like the support staff, the support weapon that Warriors lacked. And I feel like, in my opinion, my experience, it was kind of like mediocre. It felt lackluster. You know, it wasn't terrible. It's something that could definitely salvage, but it felt a little bit lackluster. So what they're saying here is the staff is breaking ground as Warrior's support weapon, and while it lands strong, it had its own pain points. The largest piece of feedback we received was about the unwieldiness of line breaker. Sometimes ally targeting is not a good match for a skill, and this is one of those cases. Line breaker will no longer be a targeted skill and will now be ground. Okay, so they're switching it from like targeted to AoE essentially. Okay, this will help warriors use this skill on the fly at a moment's notice. That gives you like more freedom and liberty to basically point it where you want, right? So that's just probably a good change. Support warriors also noticed that their adrenaline gain was substantially lower than a traditional warriors. We'll be adding additional adrenaline gain to Valiant Leap and a Defiant Roar to help warriors use burst skills when they want to. We know support warrior is still a budding archetype, and we plan to add more trait support in the future updates. So it feels like Warrior is still like a little bit of a work in progress, but they're trying to. They're working towards something. Okay. Then we have Revenant. Revenant was one of the like more visually impressive, right? This is the lightsaber weapon. Scepter, you're wielding it like a giant lightsaber. You know, giant lightsaber greatsword even. So visually it was one of the more cooler looking one. But, you know, the actual effect, the numbers, they were a little bit underwhelming. So, it looked great, but it didn't feel great. That was basically how I felt about Revenant. So, a Scepter gives support Revenant a sustained, focused main hand weapon they have been waiting for. The weapon was well received, but there are some big ways in which its usability could be improved. The concept of charging your skills with your auto attack chain proved to be a mechanic that didn't add much to the weapon's gameplay. It was too easy in PvE and it was too unrealistic in competitive modes. They've removed this mechanic and adjusted the skills accordingly. Okay, so made it, you know, they toned it down, basically. Unlike Warrior's Line Breaker, we felt Allied Targeting could improve Revenant. So here they did the opposite thing then. It improved Revenant's Blossoming Aura skill. You'll now be able to place it on an ally, sacrificing damage for guaranteed support. So they made this from AoE to targeted, player targeted, or enemy targeted. Additionally, instead of gaining strength when you land your auto attack chain, it will build up strength over time. You'll now be able to reactivate the skill to detonate it early, with the effect scaling based on how long it's been cooking. Okay? Otherworldly Bolt has also had some big adjustments. We felt like the play pattern of an upkeep weapon skill did not pan out the way we liked. So the skill now has a fixed duration and a fixed energy cost. Like Blossoming Aura, its effect will now scale over its duration instead of being charged with the auto attack chain. So yeah, they basically changed a big part of its core mechanic. Like the auto attack chain is gone, and it's more like now an over time kind of thing. We'll see in practice how much that actually changes things. Okay. Mesmer, another like highly anticipated one, right? This is supposed to be like the support weapon that Mesmer's been waiting for, that will finally make a viable healer build for Mesmers. Namely, probably Mirage or Chrono, one of the two, is probably gonna have like a viable healing build. But it was also like a mixed bag a bit, right? There were some good things, but there were also some, you know, not so great things about the rifle. Rifle gives builds like support Chronomancer, there we go, the tools to be a potent healer in addition to their unique tools. They were happy to see positive feedback around the weapon, but, as with everything, there were tweaks we could do to make the weapons feel better to use. Journey is seeing a reduction in its casting time and its time from casting to impact, and it can now properly be re-aimed with the instant casting setting. Additionally, the delay in the explosion on abstraction is being removed. These two changes charged together will help your support be snappier and more explosive. Yeah, so basically make it faster. Make it faster. Maybe it felt too slow, too clunky to actually be effective. They're making it much quicker. They also saw common feedback that Phantasmal Sharpshooter felt like a weak point in the kit. They'll be enhancing them by having the Phantasm fire faster and strike in an area on impact. So they'll be enhancing them by having the Phantasm fire faster and strike in an area on impact. Okay. We'll also give this skill 2 charge in PvE to allow more liberal use. Lastly, we realized that the portal functionality of Singularity Shot, that's the portal gun basically, can be harder to utilize in non-organized play. We added the flash effect when the portal is open to catch other players' attention and hopefully alert them to take it. Oh yeah, that's kind of smart. So it wasn't visual enough. So that way, if you're pugging, like if you're playing with people that you don't know, people wouldn't know that you were basically gave them a portal to escape their situation. So they make that more visual. That's probably a good thing. Okay. And next we have Elementalist. Elementalist was one of the losers, I would say, of the beta. It added a pistol, and it added like a mechanic that you're collecting elemental bullets that you then can fire at your enemies. And I feel like the damage wasn't really there, and you know the Elementalist has never been an easy class to add something to, because you have the 4 elements, right? So you're not adding 3 skills, you're adding 12 skills. That's always been a nightmare and tricky to move around. But this one again, this feels like there wasn't a lot there. It didn't really click with anyone. There was definitely a lot of room to improve there. Okay, so Pistol came loaded with an arsenal of skills to give condition-based Elementalist build new toys and enhance Weaver combinations even further. The strongest feature was that a lot of the animation felt too similar. We substituted some of the simple shooting animation with other spell casting animation to help vary what the weapon feels like. We've also sped up some casting time and missile velocity to help keep the weapon feeling fluid. Another note was that it became hard to tell which bullets you had active when your screen was busy. Elemental bullets will now display an icon on your active effects bar to help in those moments when you can't see your character clearly. And to finish off Elementalists, we have the most important changes. Piercing Pebble will now pierce. Yeah, that's probably a good change. If it's called Piercing Pebble, it should probably pierce. So they made it more visible, so probably more user-friendly, if I understand it correctly. And they mostly made the animations more clear, more visual, and they sped up the casting time. We'll see if that's enough, because I felt like, yeah, maybe the Elementalist, the gun was like one of the 3 lowest during the beta for me. Okay. So next we have Guardian. Then Guardian was one of the better ones. I feel like number 1 would probably be the Axe for Thief. Second would be Mace for Ranger. I would probably put Guardian Pistol on 3 after the beta. Dual pistols came out guns blazing, they sure did, performing well in all game modes as a new option for condition-based Guardians. Last month we updated the Radiant Fire trait to promote a healthier play pattern for the archetype, as well as give off pistols more space to be featured in those builds. We'll continue to monitor how it all shakes out to make sure both offhand pistol and torch have uses. As for weapon adjustment, Jurisdiction will charge faster and can be detonated sooner. This should help the skill feel smoother and help to hit enemies at melee range. Yeah, I'm feeling not big changes for Guardian Pistol, but maybe that was also not really necessary. Yeah. Necromancer. Necromancer, again, when people saw it, it looked very cool, right? The sword animations, very flashy. The idea of basically high risk, high reward was also really cool, but the execution was, you know, not as cool. That's what they're saying here. Like, swords have a strong team and interesting concept, but unfortunately, due to some clunky animation things and timings, and low numbers, they left players hungry for more damage. They'll be increasing the power coefficient of the weapons across the board in PvE with similar adjustments for PvP. Additionally, they sped up some casting times and reduced the after cost of some skills so that the weapon can better match the flow of the game. Like the change to Thief's Axis, the auto attack chain projectiles will have their logic updated so they can hit the targets on terrain more consistently. The other major change to the weapon is a rewrite to Devouring Visage and Consume. The design of the skill proved hard to pull off if the projectile goes too slow. It will struggle to hit moving targets, but if it goes too fast, players will struggle to recall it when they want to. Devouring Visage will now throw the orb at your target, exploding on impact to damage and few enemies. Consume can be used after that to drain the strength of the targets, but by targets hit by the explosion, inflicting damage and weakness while granting you might. So yeah, quite a lot of changes to Necro, probably necessary to feel they are less clunky and just let it hit harder, because you know it doesn't matter how cool something looks or how some of the mechanics are really nice. If the numbers aren't there, it's not going to be used. It's kind of like a failure, right? Then, probably the big loser of the beta was the engineer on shortbow. I think generally nobody liked the shortbow, right? And what's kind of like refreshing is that they very much acknowledge that. So you have to say that about this blog post. It's very honest. They're not hiding. They're not minimizing. They're kind of saying how it is, which is, you know, that's appreciated. Okay. So shortbow aimed to be a support weapon that could let your creativity flow as you designed your future master plans. This weapon was not a fan favorite, to say the least. It sure wasn't. And we knew that it needed a large makeover to get it to a spot where it matched the caliber of our other new weapons. We looked over at all the feedback and common themes arose. Engineer Shortbow was commonly criticized for being slow between casting times, delays, explosion, and pulses. It was too hard to support your allies in a timely fashion. Additionally, the radii for shortbow skills had to be small due to performance concerns. So they're gonna make the traps bigger, okay? The small area made the skill more difficult to use, especially when you wanted your allies to stand in the area for the best effect. We also received feedback that the shortbow did not offer the right tools to make it more appealing over the other weapon options for an engineer. All these issues culminated in a poor showing over the beta weekend, leaving us with many ideas on how it can be improved. To start, they agreed that shortbow skills could be sped up on multiple fronts. I feel like it's a theme for many of these weapons, these changes. They made it faster. Okay. The casting time and delay on impact were reduced, and now shortbow skills do not have to be detonated. When an aerial lands, it will be immediately explode. That's probably good. Probably good. They also lowered the amount of pulsing components on the weapon, so that you do not have to stand. Okay, so they didn't make the area effect bigger. They like used pulses. You don't have to stand in an area for a prolonged amount of time to get the best value. They were happy with the concept of chain reactions and augmenting your abilities, and they have reworked this mechanic to better fit the new shortbow. When you use a shortbow skill now, it will mark an area for a brief duration. The next shortbow skill in this area will consume the mark and be augmented based on the first skill. So it like upgrades the other one. Okay? With all these changes, it allowed us to expand the radii of shortbow skills and play with the shapes of the skills. Finally, we added some shiny new toys to shortbow, such as ways to apply protection and ages. Okay. So what? If you like land one of the traps or one of the AoEs and another AoEs, you kind of make it bigger. Is it like that? So basically, as you mentioned before, okay, that's basically all of them. So these are the high-level changes coming to the new weapons. For the exact numbers, smaller changes, and a preview is gonna be for the March balance update. So after they brought it out at the end of March, they will of course see how everything goes, and there will be a balance update in March to make the necessary adjustments, because they will, however much change they will do, there will always be weapons that essentially fail, weapons that succeed, you know, and changes necessary. That was the way how it went for elite specializations. That's how it will go for the weapons here. Okay. Alright, so that is for the weapons. Interesting. It's good they're being very transparent. I'm expecting next week that we'll get a preview for the patch in total. We'll get like some kind of trailer maybe, you know, pictures of the new part of the map they're adding, story parts, and hopefully we'll get our first preview of the in-game look of the legendary armor, because that's, you know, that's what I've been working for the past few months. Trying to get as much things that I need for the legendary armor. I'm making progress, but it would be nice to know what I'm actually working towards, because what we had so far was just the concept art. Okay. So, in the meantime, what is there to do? Well, Lunar New Year is still going on. It's going into its final week, I believe. So Lunar New Year, they didn't add a ton, right? They mostly added a new meta reward, which was very well received. You can actually check it out in game here. I have it, right? I'm pretty sure I have it. Let's see. Wardrobe. This one. So this is the closest thing they've ever gotten to actually adding a new race. The Dragonborn from Baldur's Gate, or the Draktyr, how we always wished they looked, you know. It even has mouth animations. So it kind of makes you think, if they can add this, is it like a way they could actually add a new race to Guild Wars 2? Is it something that they would want? I mean, especially on Char, it looks so much better. So, you know, it kind of makes me think that this might be a way for them to add a new race after all. You know, it probably wouldn't be for Tengu, but Tengu has very different models. But, you know, this might solve their problem that they have to, if they add a race, this way they don't have to, like, retrofit all of the existing armor pieces, right? But yeah, another reason why you should do Lunar New Year, which is why I am doing it, is because of the luck. For the obsidian armor in total, you need 1,500 exotic luck, which is a shit ton of exotic luck, right? And the best way to do it is Lunar New Year. You collect as many envelopes as you do. Once you have all of them, you basically try to maximize your magic find. You can do that, for example, by doing the silver waste meta, Divine Rod. So you can get the 50% magic find buff. If you do all 5 events, you get an extra 30% magic find buff. And then you open all your envelopes and get as much luck as you can. And then with a tailorer, you can craft it into exotic luck. That's my plan. So if you're working to obsidian armor and you're short on exotic luck, do this. Okay? Do this. Other reason is, of course, gold farm. Every festival is a good way to gold farm. If you Google, you'll find enough guides on how to gold farm, right? You can do a lot of celestial challenges to buy your divine lucky envelopes, sell those. So there's a few ways you can farm Lunar New Year for gold, luck, or the meta reward. Still 1 week, so if you want to do that, go ham. And then after that is 1 more week until the actual new patch starts. So exciting stuff. I feel like we're coming out of a slower time in Guild Wars 2. After patch 1, there wasn't enough meat on the bone there to keep people busy until now. But now that we're going towards that patch 2, people are coming back, I noticed. People are talking about it again, people are excited. So the only thing now is Arena to deliver on that. Weapons have to be good, legendary armor has to be good, you know. If they kind of botch this patch, that could put a big damper on the Secrets of the Obscure expansion, because so far it's been pretty good, right? Expansion was fine, patch 1 was okay, but patch 2 they have to nail it. That's the big one. Alright. So, if you want to talk more about this, feel free to join me on Twitch or in the comments. Okay, so this is like something new I tried. Hopefully the audio is not too scuffed. We'll follow up on this for a future video, and we'll see how it goes. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining. Okay, let me know what you think in the comments. Join me on Twitch. Okay, and I'll see you guys next time.